Hey guys, welcome to the workshop. In today's video, we are going to compare the Rust-oleum dark walnut stain to the Winwax walnut stain. So stick around. Okay, I've got both of them sitting here, and the reason why I'm doing this test is because for years and years I have used Winwax. It's been my go-to for every project that I've ever done up until recently. My wife just randomly said I wanted to make something, so she went and bought a stain for me to use, and she just happened to buy Rust-oleum. And I said, well, you know, we always use Winwax, but I'll try Rust-oleum. And I was pleasantly surprised with how well it worked. So what I wanted to do in this video is demonstrate the differences between the two, kind of why you'd want to use one over the other one, and just to kind of give you my overall opinion and view on it. Okay, so what I have set up here are two different pine boards. Now, this is actually the same board cut in half, and I have not sanded it. I have not put any pre-stain conditioner. Literally, I just cut it one from the other. I want this to be an exact comparison. So what I'm going to do is apply the Winwax to one and do the Rust-oleum to the other. So one thing that I want to point out while I'm doing this is that I've used both of these. I've already mixed them up, so they're good to go. But the biggest difference is that this Winwax takes a little longer to soak in. And so I'm going to want to let that soak in probably for about 5 to 10 minutes. That's all I'm going to let it go for. The Rust-oleum, you really don't want to let that go too long, because the longer you go, the harder it is to take it off. And you'll see what I mean in a minute. So one of the biggest things that I noticed so far in this whole thing is the Winwax is more liquefied. It seems more watery. Now they're both oil-based, so there's no water in it, but it just seems a whole lot more just loose. It's not very thick. It's very thin. And once you put it on, you can already tell that most of it is soaking in, and that you're not going to have to really wipe off a whole lot. Now, if you're going to work on a project that you want to have some long work time on it before you go rubbing off, or if you got a big project, this might be an idea because it gives you a little bit of time to spare. So we'll let that dry, and then I'll take that off, and then we'll do the other one. So after using this Rust-oleum already before, the biggest difference right off the bat that I saw was the consistency of the liquid. It is a much thicker paste. In fact, you can just tell on the brush, it actually holds on the brush a whole lot more. And these are both the same color. And I'll tell you right now, looking at it, you might question that, because they definitely look a little bit different. But they are the same color. They're both dark walnut, according to what they call it. So when you're putting this on, I can tell right off the bat that this is not soaking in as much. And so you're more likely to think that this is not going to be as good of a product. And we'll let that dry for about 5 minutes as well. So as that's drying, I want to explain a little bit about it. The Rust-oleum is a lot thicker. And as I already stated before in this video, that you're not going to want to let it set too long, because from my experience, I've let it set a little bit too long, and then you really had to put a lot of elbow grease into your piece to get that residue off. And if you don't get it off, then you've got a lot of tackiness. As opposed to the Winwax is so much more liquefied, and for the first coat, so much of it just soaks right in. There's not as much to wipe off, but you have a lot more working time. That takes a lot longer to kind of set up, and then it will get tacky as well, but it doesn't take near as long to set up. And so what I'm going to do first is actually wipe the Rust-oleum off first, because I don't want it to get really tacky. Okay, so I've let this set for about 5 minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and wipe off the Rust-oleum one first to give you a real good first glance at what it looks like. One of the first things you can tell is it really soaked in more than you would imagine. Now, I must say, that looks phenomenal. That is one coat. That would be as dark as I would want it to be. And so the other benefit about this Rust-oleum, it dries within an hour. So you could actually put your finished polyurethane coat on top of this within an hour. Okay. Well, this is kind of very similar. And I'm learning this as we do this. I've been very curious of this myself. So I have not done this test before, so these results, we're seeing them together for the first time. Well, I have to be honest, they're very, very, very similar results, but there are definitely some differences. First of all, you can tell the tone is different, and both of these are dark walnut. Even the pictures on the cans are the same. So obviously they soaked into the wood different. So that tells me a lot right there. This to me looks like dark walnut. This actually looks more like ebony. It's like very much more black. This would not be a color my wife would be happy with. But this is a color we are happy with. This is actually dark walnut. So to me, this is more true than this. This is Winwax and this is Rust-oleum. For years I've always used Winwax. This makes me want to use Rust-oleum a whole lot more. Okay, well, it's pretty clear to me which one I'm going to start going with. I'm going to go with Rust-oleum, but there are some pluses and benefits to it. I've already stated a lot of them. The use time, if you're going to do a really big project, you probably want to go more with the Winwax just because you've got a little longer working time. The Rust-oleum, it sets up so fast. You want to get it off there pretty quickly, but you know, they both look pretty good for one coat. Now, I didn't like the color the Winwax turned out. It's definitely more of an ebony color, and that's not even what the picture of the stain on the actual can is. So that's a little concerning. But from my past experience with other boards, you know, after sanding it, a Winwax definitely takes more coats to get that dark. That board is definitely a very porous board. It's never been sanded, and it's just straight off from the lumber rack at the hardware store. So, and once you sand it, makes a big difference. I just did a table, and I used pine, sanded it really nice and smooth, but I used Rust-oleum, one coat, done. The faux wooden beam that I did, that was 2 coats Rust-oleum, or 2 coats of Winwax, and she still thinks it's too bright. So we might be taking it and adding the Rust-oleum to it. Who knows? So I think in the future I'm going to be using a lot more Rust-oleum. So to me, a Rust-oleum is the win. I don't even think I'm going to bother with Winwax. Most of my projects aren't massive, so they just wouldn't take something I need long use time. But I hope you enjoyed this video. You kind of walked through this with me as we tested this. And if you do a lot of things yourself, this is kind of a good thing to know which stain that you want to go with, all based upon what kind of project you're doing. So anyways, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so that you can be notified of every video that I put out. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time right here in the workshop.